Before we start, I want to ask you something, and I want you to actually answer it, not out loud, but honestly, in your own mind, because the honest answer is the only one worth anything here. When was the last time you didn't do something you knew you should do? Not because you didn't have the skill, not because you didn't have the information, not because the opportunity wasn't there, but because something inside you said, who are you to think you can do that? So I want you to take a second with that. So the reason I asked that question is because for most people in this room currently, that question doesn't land as a rare occasion. If anything, it lands as a familiar one, a recurring one, a quiet, consistent undercurrent that shows up at the exact moment something important is within reach. For example, the promotion you didn't apply for, the conversation you avoided, the position you didn't take, the trade you didn't take, the thing you prepared for and then talked yourself out at the last possible moment. Not because you weren't ready, because you didn't feel ready. And somewhere along the way you decided that feeling ready was a prerequisite for acting. It's required to act. So I want to let you know today is, for obvious reasons, it isn't. And that's what we're here to talk about today. And so there's a joke. Actually, let me reframe that. There's a place most people live that nobody talks about, honestly. What I would call it is the waiting room. That's a place most people live. It's the space between knowing what you should do and actually doing it. Because having the capability and expressing it, between having the capability and expressing it, between the version of yourself you can clearly imagine and the version of yourself you're currently willing to be. You see, most people spend years, their entire lives there, lifetimes. Some spend decades. Some spend their entire lives in this waiting room, just convinced that they'll step out once the conditions are right, once they know enough, once they feel enough, once they feel more confident, once the doubt quiets down. The conditions never become right. The knowledge is never quite enough. The confidence never arrives at the time it was promised. And then the doubt does not quiet down on its own magically. You see, the thing about the waiting room is the waiting room has no exit. Well, let me rephrase that. The waiting room has no exit that comes from waiting. The only way out the waiting room is through the door you've been standing in front of. But somewhere along that line, you don't feel aligned with it. Whether it's that you don't feel you think you can or you don't feel you should, even though you can grasp the fact that you should. And so here's the belief that keeps people in this waiting room. You see, for most people who live there, in this waiting room, what you'll notice is that confidence comes first, that you'll feel it. Some shift, some arrival along the line, you'll just wake up, or some morning where you wake up and the uncertainty is just all of a sudden gone, and that voice in your head is finally supportive. And then from that place of confidence, you'll act. Just like how you see it in the movies where somebody just one day out of nowhere or at one point they just have this kind of epiphany and things change from that moment onwards. But this is one of the most expensive and costly misunderstandings in human psychology. Sorry for the ambulance or whatever. busy city I live in. Again, it's the most expensive misunderstanding, the most costly misunderstanding in human psychology, because confidence is not a requirement or a prerequisite for action. Confidence is a product of action, not a prerequisite. It's a byproduct. So you do not become confident and then act. No, you act imperfectly or uncertainly. And then you still act with the doubt still present. And the confidence assembles itself in the aftermath. And the evidence of what you survived is where confidence derives. And the proof that you did the thing and the thing didn't destroy you. You survived it. You see, confidence is not the feeling that precedes the move. It is the residue left behind every move you made before you felt ready. Think about those who act and survive shit. Think about those who went through hard times. Think about people like David Goggins. Let me see if I have the title somewhere here. Oh, right here. Think about David Goggins. Sorry, can you see this? You can see this? Okay. David Goggins, but can't hurt me. Dude's been through a lot. And he talks about callousing your mind. Oh, right here. Okay, there we go. Right here. So he talks about callousing your mind. You know how when you go to the gym, lift weights, you go to the gym a lot, you start to develop these calluses on your palms. He talks about doing that with your mind. And the way in which you do that is through going through hardship. So you kind of know what you can survive. That brings that level of confidence. And so that right there is a different timeline than most people are operating on. And it changes everything about how you approach the moments where doubt shows up. And everything about how you engage doubt when it does show up. So think about every version of yourself that you currently respect, if any. Not admire from a distance, but actually respect. The people in your life who move with certainty, who make decisions cleanly, who don't seem paralyzed by the same hesitation that holds you. Do you think the doubt doesn't visit that person? It does. It visits everyone. Doubt is a friend of everyone. The difference is not that confident people are free from doubt. The difference is that confident people have a different relationship with doubt. They've had enough reps of moving through doubt, of doing the thing while the doubt was still present, that the doubt no longer has any power over the action. That the doubt supersedes the importance of action. But understand something. Doubt is still there with everyone. Everyone experiences. No one is free from it. It's still there. It just doesn't get a vote anymore for those who are confident. The goal is not to silence the doubt. The goal is to demote it. So let me tell you what waiting actually costs. Not in an abstract manner, but in a practical sense. You see, every moment spent waiting for confidence is a moment of not building confidence. You could have been building, because the only raw material confidence is made from is action. That's it. Experience, evidence. You can't have confidence if you don't have evidence of why you should be confident. Evidence can only be generated by doing the thing. So while you're waiting to feel ready, the person next to you who doesn't feel ready, who also has the doubt, who also has the uncertainty, if anything more uncertainty than you do, is generating evidence rep by rep, action by action. They're building the residue. They're accumulating the proof. They're getting better. And it's not because they felt more prepared, but because they moved when you waited. And so that gap compounds. So now, 6 months of doing that, they done lapped your ass. It's not because they're more talented. It's not because the doubt visits them less, but because they've decided, they made a deliberate decision, a repeatable decision that the doubt was not a stop sign. The doubt was just the doubt was just a travel companion, and they were leaving with or without its approval. Again, doubt has to be demoted. The doubt will always still be there. It's just for those who are confident, do not allow doubt to cast a vote towards action. The gap between you and the person further along is not talent. Again, the gap between you and the person further along is not talent. It is accumulated action taken in the presence of doubt. As I've said, everyone experiences doubt. All of us. As long as you are alive, doubt will always remain a travel companion. Thing is, though, you see, most people don't really know what doubt actually is. Or the first step is awareness to overcoming, allowing doubt to not cast a vote towards action, allowing yourself to build a different relationship with doubt. The first step is awareness. So what doubt really is, you see, we've been treating doubt as if it's the enemy. And I want to complicate that. Doubt in its truest form is not the enemy. Doubt is just a signal. Doubt is information. And like all information, its value depends entirely on how you read it, how you interpret it. The third law in my philosophy known as Soire that I've built, the third law goes by, I can't remember off the top. I still need to restudy. All right, right here. I found it. Emotion is observed. Emotion is observed, not obeyed. We feel, but we do not follow. Impulse is information, not instruction. So that law was written for trading, but it lives here too. It lives in every domain where the mind generates a feeling in response to a challenge. So I guess you can say it applies to all of life. You see, doubt is a feeling. And like every feeling, it deserves to be observed, not suppressed, not obeyed, observed. So what is doubt actually telling you when it shows up? You see, sometimes it's legitimate. Sometimes doubt is accurate intelligence about a genuine gap. You're doubting your ability to lead a team or a group of people because you've never managed people before. And you genuinely need more preparation. You're doubting your trade because the setup is not the best quality, or the setup is ambiguous and you genuinely need more data. The doubt is useful. It's the mind performing its function, assessing the readiness of the action, flagging risk wherever it pops up, protecting from overextension. You see, that kind of doubt deserves respect. It's a signal worth following. You don't have doubt for no reason. It comes for a reason. So when it does, respect the gap, respect the signal doubt is giving you. But most of the time, Most of the time, and be honest about this. Most of the time, the doubt you experience is not that kind that I just spoke about. It's not a diagnostic. It's just a defense mechanism to stay comfortable. It's the part of the psyche that has decided somewhere below conscious thought that not trying is safer than trying and failing. That staying small is less painful than reaching and falling short. That's the waiting room, and people spend their entire lives there, imprisoned there. That's the waiting room, and as uncomfortable as it is more tolerable than the exposure of actually being seen, actually trying and falling short, the vulnerability of trying, actually being tested, actually finding out what you're made of. That doubt is not intelligence. It's not. It's not a true signal. It's avoidance. It's avoidance that's wearing a very convincing costume. That's what that is. Am I being followed? Are you guys following me? We got a few heads in here. Jaylee, yes. IB, yes. Abdul, perfect. So, Cruz, yes. Okay. How do I continue this? Understand something. Something very important to note. You see, the fear of finding out what you're capable of is more paralyzing than the fear of failure. You see, failure is an event. Again, failure is an event. Capability is an identity because you are what you are. And the doubt that protects you from testing your identity is the most expensive doubt there is. Because it costs you the relationship with yourself. You won't know who you're truly made of. But here is how you find out the difference between legitimate doubt and protective doubt, because those are two different doubts. Legitimate doubt has an actual signal that reserves respect. Protective doubt is, again, a defense mechanism designed to keep you inside the waiting room. So legitimate doubt, it points to something very specific, something actionable per se. Legitimate doubt says, you don't know enough about X. You haven't practiced Y. You're missing Z. It has a prescription inside it. So what you do is address the gap and the doubt resolves. However, protective doubt is very vague. Very vague. It doesn't point to anything specific. Protective doubt says, oh, not yet. Not you. Not now. It has no prescription because it doesn't want a resolution. The job of protective doubt is not to guide you. The job is to keep you still. So when you feel doubt, ask yourself, what specifically is this telling me? What's the signal? Actually look for the signal. Is there a gap it's pointing to? Is there something concrete I can address? If yes, then it's useful. Do the work, close the gap. If not, it's just a feeling of unworthiness with no specific cause. And that's the presence of protective doubt. Protective doubt does not deserve obedience, observation. Well, no, it does not deserve obedience, but it does deserve observation. And then action anyways. Protective doubt or not, you still take action anyways. You see, one of the mantras I go by is reason is the lens of perception. Again, reason is the lens of perception. We do not react to reality, we respond to it. The same applies to the reality inside your own mind. There's a version of doubt that I think is quite insidious, and I want to name it specifically. It's the doubt, and I felt this on many occasions, but it's the doubt that arrives right before the breakthrough, right before a breakthrough. Not the beginning, when you're clearly unprepared, not in the middle when the work is being hard, when the work is hard and the progress is invincible, but right before, when you're actually close, when the preparation has accumulated enough, when the next step is the real step, when it's time to step. That's when the doubt tends to peak. That night before you get on stage tomorrow at school for the talent show, or for the little dance that you've been dancing or whatever, or that presentation that you got to present in class. But right before a breakthrough, whatever breakthrough you can think of, the doubt that arrives right before a breakthrough, there's a reason for that doubt. The higher the stakes, the louder the mechanism. The closer you are to genuine exposure, to finding out whether you're as capable as you believe or not, the more aggressively the protective doubt activates itself. So essentially, the loudest doubt you ever feel is often not a sign that you're furthest from ready. It may be a sign that you're closest. So in this sense, doubt becomes like some sort of checkpoint. The intensity of the resistance is sometimes it's sometimes the most accurate measure of the importance of the thing that you're about to do. However, that doesn't make it easy to push through, but it makes it meaningful to do so when you know the stakes are high. But again, when the doubt arises before a breakthrough, it's a sign. It may be a sign that you're the closest that you've ever been, or you're closest to what needs to be happening or what's destined. Am I being followed? Y'all hearing me? Y'all catching what I'm putting down? Zay, yes, Abdul. I like seeing the same faces, man. Y'all becoming regulars. I'm getting used to reading some of these names and yeah. So let's talk about what confidence actually is. Because I think most people have a fundamentally wrong picture of confidence. The popular image of confidence is a state. Something you arrive at, something you have or don't have, a trait that some people were born with or developed early or discovered after some transformative experience, and now they carry it as a permanent feature of who they are. That image is not useful because it frames confidence as something that happens to you, something you acquire passively, something you wait for. However, confidence is not a state. Confidence is a practice. It's a daily, active, deliberate practice. And like all practices, it produces results in proportion to the consistency with which it's performed. Understand? So here's what the practice looks like. It starts with small commitments, not a big ass declaration, small commitments, not resolutions and shit. You know, everybody with their New Year's resolutions and shit. Some people probably still creating a few. We damn near Q2. But small, specific, doable, completable commitments. And then the honoring of these commitments. You say you'll get up at a certain time and you do. You say you'll finish a specific task before the day ends and you do. You say you'll have a conversation you've been avoiding and you have it. The small commitments is where it counts because it accumulates. There's the evidence that you need to know that when you do something, you do as you say. It's interesting because that's a sign of self-respect. And the more you respect yourself, people will respect you. That's the mantra I go by. Not treat others how you want to be treated, but treat yourself how you want to be treated. You want people to respect you, respect yourself. How do you respect yourself? Respect your word. When you say you're going to do something, you do it. Ain't nothing more respectable than someone who respects their own word. They value their own word. But in that action, these small accumulations of commitments follow through. On its own, it's not significant. But again, the cumulative effect of them is everything. And it's all you need. Because what you're doing, right, underneath the surface of each small commitment honored, followed through, is just a building body of evidence about your own reliability. You're creating a track record. You're creating an internal record that the mind consults whether you're aware of it or not. Your mind is testing you to whether it can trust you too. For every time a challenge appears, can I do this? Can I do this? You see, the mind doesn't answer that question abstractly, randomly. It answers it by looking at the record, by reviewing what you've done before, by measuring the gap between what you've said and what you've done. If the record shows that you followed through, that you do what you say, that you honor the commitment even when it's inconvenient, difficult, painful, that you move when you said you'd move, then the answer to can I do this begins to default towards yes. Because you've been doing this. You're not new to this, you're true to this. It's not because you've become someone different, but because you've built the evidence that you're the kind of person who does. So understand something. My effort is not burden. My effort is proof, and proof is what confidence is built from. Not a default, not a state. Confidence is built in practice. It's built from doing what you say you do, you will do. Moving when you said you'd move. It's built from honoring commitment. For the traders in this room, which is all of us, but I'm recording this now, so there's going to be people who watch this who aren't traders. But for the traders, you know this intimately. We know this. Every time you honored your stop loss, every time you took the defined loss instead of holding and hoping and all that extra shit, you built evidence that you can follow your own rules under pressure. Even when it hurts, you follow your rules. Every clean execution, every session where you stuck to the plan, every trade where you exited on the signal instead of on the emotion, that's your confidence record as a trader. And when you break the rule, when you move the stop, when you revenge the trade, when you size up after a loss, you're just not making a bad trade. You're also making a withdrawal from the confidence account. You're adding a data point that says, when it got hard, I didn't hold the line. I folded under pressure. I couldn't follow shit when I started to lose. No offense, but that's pussy. You feel me? That's pussy. And so for everyone else in the room, the mechanism is identical. Different arena, same internal accounting. You can't think your way to self belief. You can only act your way there. It's interesting. I was having a conversation with a friend of mine not too long ago about trading and just honoring commitment. Notice how he's in a relationship, and I told him, I was like, notice how easy it is to be loyal to a partner when you're loyal to your life and you're loyal to your own self. You're loyal to your word. You're loyal to your commitments. He's a trader. He's learning how to trade, and he has a set of rules in which he follows. And I bridged the gap between having evidence of honored commitment in the charts into outside life. Loyal to yourself and loyalty externally comes easy. Or not come, but it becomes easy. And so when it comes to using confidence as a practice, there's another element of the practice that doesn't get enough attention. That's posture, not physical posture, though that matters, but psychological posture. The way you carry yourself in your own mind before anyone else is watching. Because confidence is not what you do in the high stake moments. It's the tone of the inner conversation you're running constantly. The way you speak to yourself when something doesn't go as planned. The way you interpret setbacks. The stories you attach to failure and uncertainty. You see, a person with confidence does not speak to themselves the way someone in the waiting room does. And so it's not because they've eliminated self-criticism. You see, healthy self-assessment is valuable, but it's really because they've eliminated the kind of self-talk that turns a performance into an indictment of identity. For example, missing a trade is an event. Missing a trade is an event, but, oh, I always miss the good ones is an identity statement. Again, missing a trade is an event, but that self-talk of, oh, I always miss the good setups. I always miss the good setups. I'm always losing. I'm never good at anything. That's an identity statement. One of these belong in the review. The other one belongs nowhere because it doesn't serve you. Getting passed over for an opportunity is an event. Getting passed over for an opportunity is an event. But that self-talk of, I'm not the kind of person who gets those opportunities, is an identity statement. One of these can be learned from. The other one just reinforces the waiting room. It keeps one small. It keeps you small. I just thought of it. The seventh law of Soire is reflection is the true P&L. We measure growth and composure. Let me write that down. People realize how words rewire their brain over time. Exactly. Agreed. Oh no, actually no, 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 no. What's going on, Zeke? Then how you feeling, brother? Trending up as always, brother. Good to see you here, man. So, the seventh law. Reflection is the true P&L. We measure growth in composure, consistency, and character. Not in self doubt, negativity, flagellation. Not in the stories we tell to explain why we fell short. In what we actually do with what we learn. That's where you measure growth. And so you may ask now, okay, how do we move through doubt? We first talked about what doubt is. We've talked about what confidence is built from. Now let's talk about the moment itself, because the moment is what matters more than anything. You have the awareness to spot doubt, the difference between genuine doubt and protective doubt. The moment where the doubt is present and the action is required, and you have to make a choice about which one leads, is what I want to get into. Because everything we've discussed, again, is just preparation for that moment. And that moment is the only one that actually counts more than anything. So here's what I want you to understand about that moment. Follow me. It does not feel the way people describe it from the outside. From the outside, people who act in the presence of doubt look calm. They look certain. They look like they have something that you don't. From the inside, it is almost never that clean. From the inside, the heart rate is up. The mind is running its doubt narrative. Shit rushing through. The body is generating resistance. You might start sweating. The voice is saying, wait, not yet. Are you sure? And they move anyway. Anyway. Not because the voice stopped, but because they stopped waiting for it to stop. That's the issue. Most people continue to wait in the waiting room. If it's not waiting for doubt to leave, it's waiting for doubt to appear at all. I tried to like think of an analogy. I couldn't. But this is the actual skill. Stop waiting for the doubt to stop and moving anyways. That's the actual skill, not the absence of the feeling, but the ability to feel it, to not suppress it, not pretend it isn't there, not perform confidence for the room, and still put one foot forward. Confidence is not the absence of doubt. Confidence is the decision to act anyways. That's what that is. Bravery, courage. The practical question you may ask is how? How, Rio? How do you decide to act anyway? Not philosophically, but just practically. In the moment when doubt is the loudest and the stakes are the highest, the pressure is on. Fourth quarter, 3 seconds. The ball is in your hands. Your body is telling you to wait. How do you move? Let me see. 4, 3. I'd have 3 things. 3 things, not a formula, a practice. Yeah, 3. Okay. The first is reduction. When doubt peaks, when it's at its highest, the mind catastrophizes. It projects the worst possible outcome and treats it as the probable outcome, the most likely outcome. It expands the risk until the action feels reckless. You see, the practice is to reduce the scope of what you're what you're committing to. It's not can I do this for the rest of my life? Not can I guarantee this will work? Not am I certain this is the right move? It's just, can I take the next step? This step, the one immediately in front of me. Can I make this call? Can I enter this trade? Can I send this message? Can I show up today? Can I lead this? Almost always to that narrowed question is yes. Even when the doubt is loud, the next step is almost always within reach. It's doable, it's completable, and the next step is all that is required. You see, you do not need to see the whole staircase. You just need to see the next step and then take the next step. Facts or no facts? Niggas be trying to see the whole staircase. You just need to see the next step and take it. Facts or no facts? Let me know. Right. And so it's like reduction in its most essential form is just stripping all the noise that isn't the next step. Focus on what's immediately within reach. The mind will always produce so many reasons that aren't specific or vague. It's very cloudy. It becomes very, how do I say, just foggy in the mind. And so reduction, the point of it is just to remove the fog and just have the most clarity present to just take the next step. The second thing you need in this formula separation. Separation. Sorry, excuse me. You are not your doubt. You are not your doubt. That sounds simple, but it's not easy to feel. And I get it. But the observer, the part of you that notices the doubt, that can watch it arrive and name it and describe its texture, its sensation, the part that is not the doubt itself, there is a you that is separate from the voice, a you that you can hear. Who the fuck you think you are to do this? And respond with, oh, interesting. I'm going anyways. I'm going to do it anyways. The third law I was just talking about. Again, emotion is observed, not obeyed. So you feel the doubt. You do not become the doubt. You do not let it make the decision for you. You make the decision. Take control. Show the body who's in control. Who takes the stage here? Who's running shit? Who's Mr. Make It Happen? Who Mrs. Make It Happen? Who's the star of the show? Is it you or the doubt? There's separation. There is an observer and there's the experience. It's not that you're doubtful, you are. It's just that there's doubt present inside of the body, but it's not you that's doubt. You're not the experience itself. You are the observer experiencing the experience. This separation here is not suppression. Suppression is pretending that the doubt isn't there, neglecting the doubt. Separation is acknowledging the doubt fully and choosing not to hand it the keys. You still finna get in this seat and ride the whip. You take the wheel, not doubt take the wheel. The doubt can ride. It doesn't drive. You get what I'm saying? So the third is reframe. Reframe. Yep, that's the third. Most people experience the feeling of doubt, the elevated heart rate, the tight chest, the mental noise, and interpret it as, oh, I'm not ready. That same psychological or physiological experience can be interpreted differently. You can interpret it as this matters enough to activate me. You can interpret it as my body is preparing, not warning. You can interpret it as I'm at the edge of where I've been before, which means I'm at the beginning of where I haven't. Reframe, look at it differently. You have to build a different relationship with doubt. That was fire. That was fire. I'm at the edge of where I've been before, which means what I said. I'm at the edge of where I've been before, which means I'm at the edge of where I haven't. Oh, no, 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 which means I'm at the beginning of where I haven't. Let me write that down. I'll just spell some shit. This is crazy. So through this, the feeling doesn't change. However, the meaning does. And meaning determines behavior. The nervous system does not distinguish between fear and readiness. You do. So choose the interpretation that serves the move, that favors the move. So I want to go somewhere deeper before the last stretch. Because everything we've talked about, from the waiting room, the practice, moving through the moment, it all sits on top of something much more fundamental. Something that, if it isn't addressed, will keep resetting you no matter how many tools you accumulate. That would be, can somebody guess? No, I don't think y'all gonna guess. But take a guess. See if anybody. Something more fundamental that's deeper than just moving through doubt. If anybody would care to take a guess. Fear of the uncertain. That's a good guess. It's identity. The identity you hold about yourself. Not the one that you perform or that you show others, not the one not the one that you describe if someone asks, but the deep one. The one that operates below language. The one that decides before you consciously choose anything. What you are and are not capable of. What you do and do not deserve. What kind of person you are, along with, or, and therefore, what kind of outcomes are available to you because of the kind of person you are. You see, one very important thing to note here is that doubt at its deepest level is not the it's not about the specific challenge in front of you. It's about identity. Can I do this? You see, on the surface, that's a question about skill or preparation. But underneath all of that is often a question about something else entirely. That being, is this the kind of person I am? And if the identity you've constructed consciously or inherited without choosing says no, then no amount of preparation or skill changes the answer, because the preparation never feels like enough. The goalpost just keeps moving because there's always one more thing to learn, one more condition to meet, one more reason to wait. At that point, the waiting room is not a location. The waiting room is an identity that learned to wait. I hope y'all following me here and I ain't like lose y'all, because I'm trying to explain this as practical as I can. The discipline of self-love says, oh, this shit a little high. I don't know if I gotta go down a little bit. All right. The discipline of self-love says this: I rise before I feel ready. I rise before I feel ready, not to punish myself, but to honor what I'm becoming. That word, becoming, is doing serious work. Not who you are becoming. You see, identity is not fixed. It is not a permanent sentence handed down by your history or your circumstances or the voices that told you who you were before you were old enough or aware enough to disagree. Identity is a direction, a constant or a consistent pattern. Identity is a consistent pattern of choices that over time assembles into a self. And that self can be deliberately shaped, not by declaring a new version of yourself, but not by affirmative actions or not affirmative actions, but affirmations, but it's by the choices you make. And the choices you make repeated enough times, that new pattern becomes undeniable. So essentially, or to put it like this, you do not become someone who acts in the presence of doubt by deciding to. You become them by acting in the presence of doubt. Enough times that the acting is no longer the exception. It's just simply the default. It's the standard. So for every person who's watching this or who's in this room who does not trade, the domain is different. The mechanism is identical. Whether you're building something, leading something, creating something, healing something, pursuing something that feels too large for who you currently believe yourself to be, the doubt will show up. It will show up in the language of that domain. It will dress itself in the specific vocabulary of your specific fear. But underneath it is always the same question. Is this the kind of person I am? The identity. And the only answer that changes anything is not a thought. It is not a belief. It is not a feeling. It is an action taken in the presence of doubt that says by its existence, yes, this is exactly the kind of person I am. Understand? I hope I explained it. I kind of like took a little bit of mental effort to explain, but I hope I explained it well. Essentially, though, or to continue, let me leave you with this. Let me leave you with the simplest version of everything I covered today. The doubt will be there. It has always been there. It will be there tomorrow, the day after that, and the day you finally do the thing you've been circling, procrastinating, waiting on. Doubt is not a sign that you're not ready. It's a sign that you're human. Also, it's a sign that if you're willing to read it this way, that you're about to do what matters. The question has never been, will I feel ready? The question is, will I move anyway? Because every person you respect who seems certain, every trader who executes smoothly, every leader who decides without hesitation, every person who seems to have the thing that you're looking for, they built it from the same material you have access to right now. They just moved anyways. Action taken in the presence of doubt. Repeated until the doubt stopped leading, until the action became the identity, until the until the posture became the person. That right there is available to you. Not someday, not when the conditions change or when the conditions are right, not when the voice gets quieter, not when you feel like doing it, but now, in the presence of doubt, in spite of it, through it. The doubt doesn't leave. You just grow larger than it. So, with that said, act accordingly.